My mom forged military school papers to get rid of me after I refused to lend my sister money. Dad found out and filed for divorce. I was 14. It was roughly a year, give or take, before my parents got divorced. My younger sister always burned through her allowance like water. Makeup, mall snacks, video games, and clothes from Hot Topic. I got an allowance too, but my dad made me earn it by cleaning the house and doing yard work. My sister, on the other hand, never lifted a finger unless Dad was there watching her. Mom didn't make her do chores either, unless it was tidying her room in exchange for extra money. I used to mow lawns, collect discarded cans for the 5-cent deposit, and take on random odd jobs around the neighborhood. I was saving up to buy a scooter to get around town. After nearly 2 years of saving most of my allowance and working odd jobs, I managed to collect about $2,000. But keeping that money saved was a constant struggle, mostly because of my sister. She knew all my hiding spots and would steal from my stash. Here's one interaction I remember, paraphrased. Me: "Hey sis, did you take my money again?" Sis: "What? No." She used to stammer when lying. Me: "You're such a bad liar. $100 is missing from my savings." Sis: "Leave me alone. I didn't do it." She'd fake cry and run to Mom. Sis: "Mommy, he's picking on me." Me: "She stole from my savings again." Mom, snapping her fingers at me: "Shut up. Can't you see Mama's little girl is upset? She said she didn't do it, so she didn't. End of story. If you don't drop this, you'll be grounded." Me: "I know she did it, and if you don't make her return the money, I'll talk to Dad." Mom: "There's no need for that. You don't have any proof." Me: "Yes, I do. I keep a ledger of every dollar I save. The total 3 days ago was X. Now it's Z. $100 is gone. You know she's stolen from me before, and I know she already blew through her allowance this month, yet you took her shopping yesterday. Where'd she get that money, huh?" Mom paused, then scowled. Mom: "You know what? You're grounded. Go to your room or I'll get the belt." I could have kept arguing, but if I learned one thing in that house, it was when to shut up and call Dad. So I walked to my room, slammed the door, and pulled out my old Nokia brick phone. I dialed Dad at work, and since he didn't answer, I left a voicemail explaining everything. He called back about an hour later and said he'd take care of it. Not long after, I heard the house phone ring, then Mom screaming at Dad in the kitchen. I couldn't hear much from my room except for her trying to justify herself, though that never worked when she was clearly in the wrong. Eventually she yelled something like, "Fine, if she really took the money then you can pay it back, because she already spent it." Mom stormed into my room, slammed the door open and shouted, "I can't believe you ratted me out, you ungrateful brat. After all I do for you? You couldn't just let a little money slide?" Me: "So you admit my sister took it then?" Mom sneered. Mom: "You know what? I don't care. Girls need more money than boys. You should be giving it to her anyway. It wasn't even that much." Me: "It was $100. That's not a little. And even if it was only $1, it's still theft. You wouldn't want someone taking from your purse. It's the same thing. She's guilty and you know it. I want that money back. I worked hard for it, and she didn't lift a finger." Mom: "My baby doesn't need to do anything. She's a princess and deserves to be treated like one." Me: "That's not my problem. She can go be a princess somewhere else, away from me and my stuff." Mom: "That's it, you little... I'm going to beat your ass." I stood up and stared her down. At 14, I was already her height and had built some strength from all the outdoor labor. Me: "Go ahead and try. I won't let you." She clutched her hand in pain and gave me this furious, teeth-grinding glare before storming out. I heard her stomping down the hallway, yelling and slapping the walls as she went. She made her usual dramatic exit all the way down the stairs and into the kitchen, where, true to form, she hit up her wine fridge and started drinking. My sister had been watching from her bedroom doorway, looking horrified. As soon as Mom left, she darted back into her room and slammed the door. Mom had always been her ace in the hole, her shield when things went sideways. But that shield was starting to crack. A few hours later, Dad got home from work. He marched my sister into my room and made her admit she'd stolen from me. Then he told me I wasn't grounded. Sis refused to even look at me. She mumbled her apology in a voice so quiet it was nearly silent, until Dad repeatedly told her to speak up. Eventually, she was practically yelling it. Then Dad handed me a $100 bill to replace what she stole and said she was grounded for a week. The money would come out of her future allowance. That made her break down in tears. She started bawling and calling Dad horrible names before running off to her room. Mom, meanwhile, was out back on the patio getting drunk on her favorite wine, pretending none of us existed. She never apologized to me, not once, and acted like the whole thing never happened. My sister still got her next allowance anyway. Only this time, it was Mom who gave it to her instead of Dad. A few days later, on one of Dad's days off, we went to a local store and he bought me a combination safe. It was meant to hold my money and other small valuables. We didn't tell my mom or sister about it. It had a 4-digit code. I think I used 42962. I placed all my savings inside, locked it, and hid the safe in the back of my closet. Weeks passed. Then one day, after getting home from mowing a few lawns, I walked into my room to find it completely trashed. I called out to my mom to tell her that my sister had obviously torn up my room. Mom, of course, denied it. Mom, my baby didn't do this. Me, then was it you? Mom, no. Me, well, it had to be one of you. The room was clean when I left and nobody else has been here. Mom looked visibly annoyed, caught in her own logic trap. Mom, fine, but even if she did it, so what? You had it coming for not being nicer to her anyway. And with that, she stormed off. I called Dad again and left another message on his work voicemail. Then I went to my sister's room and told her I knew she had ransacked my stuff. Before she could say anything, I told her she wouldn't be getting to my money anymore. I'd locked it away in a safe. That sent her into an absolute tantrum. And of course, evil Mama Bear came running to her defense. But I just repeated that my sister couldn't touch my money anymore and walked away to start cleaning up the mess. My sister screamed in her room for nearly 20 minutes. Nothing was broken or missing, just tossed around. I put everything back where it belonged. Honestly, it was the most satisfied I'd ever felt while tidying up my room. But the next day, I came home to find it trashed again, and this time, my window was broken. My sister had thrown the safe out the window because she couldn't get it open. I immediately called Dad. When both of my parents got home, my sister admitted to everything, as if she was proud of it. Mom tried to take her side, saying I shouldn't have gotten the safe in the first place. But Dad shut her down hard. He said he bought the safe because he was sick of her stealing from me, and every time she did, he had to pay me back, because Mom never would. We had to replace the whole window in my room, and after that, Dad bought me a lock for me, so I wrote up an IOU, and she tore it in half instead of signing it. My door had a new deadbolt now. Right after my sister threw my safe through the window, Dad helped me install a secure lock and a wall-mounted combination key box right beside the door. We did it while Mom and my sister were out. When my sister returned and walked by my room for the first time, she froze when she saw the lock. Then she bolted to get Mom. They both stormed up the stairs in a huff, but Dad and I were already standing there waiting. Here's a paraphrased version of how it went down. Mom, snapping her fingers and pointing, "What the hell is that?" Dad, "A door lock." Mom, "I know what it is. Why is it there?" Dad, "Because you refuse to discipline or stop our daughter from stealing from Kegel or trashing his room. So now, the lock stays." Mom, "He's only 14, and this is my house. He can't have a lock on his door." Dad, calm, cold, "It's our house. And last I checked, I pay most of the mortgage and the bills. You barely contribute, and I'm done watching you favor your daughter while Kegel keeps paying the price." Mom, "Then I demand to know the code to the lockbox." Dad, with a deadpan stare, "Not happening. You've proven I can't trust you anymore." Mom blew up and stomped back down the stairs. My sister stood there silently, pouting, before sulking off to her room. Life was a little smoother after that. Locking my door became a routine. Anytime I left my room, I made sure it was secure. I'd often catch my mom and sister watching me, trying to see the code as I opened the lockbox, but I was always careful to block their view with my hand or body. They hated it, but there wasn't anything they could do. Then, near the end of the month, my sister came to me begging for $40 to buy a video game she was dying to get. Me, "Why do you always come to me for money when we both know you're never going to pay it back?" Sis, "I swear I will this time." Me, "No you won't. You spend everything you have, and more, every single month. You'd rather burn through your entire allowance than repay a cent. You always do this." Sis, No I don't." Me, "Oh yeah? Let's test that." I went into my room and came back with a piece of paper and a pen. I handwrote an IOU contract that said she would pay me back the $40 when she got her allowance. It also required Dad's signature as a witness, because every good contract needs a witness. She read it, sniffled, then tore the paper in half. Predictably, she ran straight to Mom. Again, cue the usual dramatic crying. Sis, sobbing, "Mom!" Mom, "What's wrong, princess? What did Kegel do now? Me. She wanted to borrow money, so Mom clenched her jaw but didn't say anything. She just turned and stomped off like a child who didn't get her way. A few days earlier, before this confrontation, my mom had gone full meltdown when I asked her to sign an IOU along with my sister. I'd asked my sister to sign it in front of Dad, just a simple agreement that she'd pay me back the $40 she wanted to borrow. She lost it, and Mom instantly jumped in to back her up. Mom, why would you do that? She just wanted to borrow a little money. Me, would you sign the IOU too, just to make sure she actually pays it back? Mom, you little, I don't have to sign anything. Now just give her the money. Me, not without a signed IOU. That's when she stood up with her arm halfway raised, like she was ready to hit me, but she pulled it back. Mom, you're just like your father, always needing a paper trail for everything. I hate it. I turned and started walking up the stairs. Me, honestly, it's probably a good thing I'm like Dad, because being like you, like her, that's the real problem. You don't do anything right. Mom, what did you just say, you little... She came storming up the stairs just as I got into my room. I quickly shut the door and locked it. Now, my mom had this bad habit of throwing open my bedroom door whenever she wanted to yell at me. She'd fling the door open with one hand while leaning forward like she was going to lunge inside. Only this time, she hadn't yet gotten used to the fact that I had a deadbolt lock now. She slammed full force into the locked door. The thud echoed through the hallway, and I heard her collapse to the floor. She started crying and groaning in pain. She'd hit the door hard, solid wood, and gave herself a fat lip and a pretty big bump on her forehead. I opened the door and found her lying there, pounding her fists on the floor like a tantrum-throwing toddler. Mom, screaming, "You did this to me, you little... Me. No, I didn't. You did this to yourself. Mom, you're grounded. Get out of my sight." I called Dad again. When I explained what had happened, he groaned over the phone and told me I wasn't grounded, but that I was still in trouble for goading her. He said to let him handle it. Later that evening, Dad gave me a stern lecture, tacked on some extra chores, and reduced my allowance for the month. That was the extent of my punishment. From that point on, whenever my sister asked for money, I pulled out a pen and paper and made her sign an IOU. She hated it. After the last time she threatened to spank me and failed, she seemed more hesitant to touch me. It was like she finally realized that trying to get physical with me would only end badly for her. So she stuck to yelling and emotional guilt trips. I kept up with my routine: school, odd jobs, staying out of trouble. My 15th birthday was around the corner, and as a gift, Dad gave me an engine kit for my bike to help me get around town. He told me I'd be better off saving for a car than a scooter, and this would work in the meantime. I actually agreed with that logic and continued putting away money for a car. But a few days later, while sweeping grass clippings off the back patio after mowing the lawn, I spotted something odd under a chair where my mom usually sat to drink her wine. A pamphlet for a military school. Immediately, I got this sinking feeling. I waited until Dad got home, then handed it to him. "Dad, what's this?" Mom, seeing the pamphlet, her face turning pale. "It's nothing. I've never seen it before." Dad, "Really? Because if you're trying to send Kegel to military school, you know damn well I'd never allow that." That's when Mom's fake act cracked. She exploded. "Mom, he needs to learn discipline. He locks his door all the time and I can't spank him anymore because he's too big. This is the only way I have left to punish him for being a disobedient brat." Dad, Kegel didn't do anything wrong when he stood up to you. You're the one with stupid favoritism. Our daughter is the brat because you spoil her rotten and let her get away with stealing from her own brother. Then he stared her down and said, "Dad, as far as I'm concerned, this conversation is over, and if you try anything to send him to that school, so help me, I'll bring the hammer down on you in every way I can." Well, I guess this whole family is just going to take away what little power I have left in this house, Mom said bitterly. "If I have nothing, I may as well be nothing." Dad, you and I both know you'd rather keel over than be nothing. Stop being so dramatic. Kegel's growing up. He's his own man now, with his own money. Mom didn't respond. She just stormed out of the room. The next morning before school, I saw her in the kitchen angrily trying to stuff something into the trash can. I waited until she left for work, then checked what she was so eager to throw away. It was an application for military school, completely filled out in her handwriting. The form required the signatures of both parents or legal guardians. There were 2 signatures at the bottom. One was clearly hers. The other was a sloppy, pathetic attempt to forge my dad's. My dad had a sharp, complex signature, that was basically impossible to replicate. This fake looked childish in comparison. I guess she realized she'd be caught after Dad confronted her, so she gave up on trying to send me away. I kept the paperwork and showed it to Dad later. He was pissed, but not surprised. He figured she'd already tried something like that. He didn't make a scene, but he did quietly file the papers away in his office, just in case. A few months later, everything came crashing down. Word got out that my mother was having an affair with an old ex-boyfriend from high school. That was the final straw for my dad. He filed for divorce. Not long after, he bought a new house, and I moved in with him. He fast-tracked the divorce by bringing out the military school papers with the forged signature. But that wasn't all. He also had proof that she'd forged his name on a credit card application, and at least one other document I can't remember. The threat of fraud charges was enough to get her to back down. The court process went quickly. She agreed to most of Dad's terms to avoid legal trouble. Mom got to keep the house. Dad didn't want it anyway, but she also demanded child support and alimony since my sister, shockingly, chose to stay with her. The judge gave her child support and a bare minimum alimony package, monthly payments for 10 years. Funny thing is, the alimony amount basically just covered my sister's allowance. Mom was furious and threatened to take Dad back to court, but he held those forged documents over her head like a loaded gun. She never followed through. The day I moved into Dad's house, my sister stuck her tongue out at me and said smugly, "Mommy says I'm the princess and the one who deserves to live here. That's why you're the one leaving." I just shook my head. "Think whatever you want," I told her. "I don't care anymore." Then I walked out that door, finally free. As for my relationship with my sister, well, she used to visit Dad's place once a week, but things only got worse between us. Eventually, we stopped speaking altogether, and I had no interest in going back to Mom's house. She turned my old room into a home office anyway.